Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Manifestation Real Talk. And with me today, oh my God, with me today is the enigmatic Tama Kieves. She is a best-selling author, amazing coach, and fantastic, fun speaker. And I think, and I'm going to let her introduce a little more of herself here in a minute, but one of the things that really just magnet to magnet with this lady for me was your humor, your comedy, and everything. There's always some little snide comment in your books, and it just stops me and I'm busted up. And I love that. I love that. She has great, fantastic books such as This Time I Dance. Great. You and your titles. I love your titles. A Course in Miracles for Life Ninjas. That's us. That if you're watching this, you're a life ninja for sure. A Year Without Fear, which is right behind her. And that's like a day by day, nice little quotes to just get you started, get your juices flowing. And my favorite, my absolute favorite, which is Inspired and Unstoppable. I was like, that's me. That's me. And and when I reached out to Tama, I was for sure, I was like, oh yeah, she came on my podcast. We had the best time. I was not in any space whatsoever if it wasn't going to happen. It was like, no. Of course she's coming. And one of uh, I guess you could say your quote about who you are and what you offer is that you're all about getting us to rock our brilliance, and create the work and life we love. Now, before I let Tama talk, I have to say, I have had a lot of people on my podcast who speak wonderfully, but to live it. So this is a lady who, graduated top of her class with honors from Harvard and got her law degree. And she was going that route, the make your mama happy, make everybody impressed around you. She got a job with a top law firm. And, you just realized that wasn't your joy. And she let it all go to follow her dream of being a writer. And of course, because I've read your books, you definitely shine there. And what I love so much more than anything about Tama is her permission for all of us to do the exact same. In fact, it's not even permission, you demand. She demands that you don't follow that bullet point fucking drill, you know. And because there's all this widely accepted advice out there from these enormously successful people, and follow my rule, and you're like, oh, this is a chore, this isn't fun, when does it start getting fun? And so I'm going to let this amazing woman talk. Welcome. Oh, before I let her talk, you had a post today on her Facebook about, what was it? Your crappy life story, or what story are you telling? Your crap or your loser story?
Your loser story.
Your loser story. So I wore Live a Great Story just in honor of you for what you posted today. So go, girl, go.
Well, I could listen all day to you introducing me, but now I got to be snide because you said I was going to be snide. But you definitely caught it. I mean, that's my life mission, is to help people rock their brilliance, their genius, their greatness. Because, as you said, for me, I had done one track of what you're supposed to do and what's acceptable to do. And many of us have tried doing that, and it depresses you, it dims your light, it just, and you start wondering, you lose yourself, and who are you? And yeah, you're pleasing everybody else. But like you said, for me, I just got to that place of thinking, this can't be all there is. This can't be all there is. And it takes so much guts for all of us to really trust and follow that inner light in us when we don't even know, right? It wasn't like I had it mapped out. It wasn't like I knew, oh, okay, I'll just walk out of this law firm without any money, without any whatever, and I'll just do X, Y, and Z. but I kept feeling like, why would I have this inner voice telling me to be a writer? Like, why would it be wrong? I mean, my mother said it was wrong. My mother was like, you're going to write, you're going to starve, because I grew up in a Brooklyn, New York Jewish family. Being a writer, following your calling was not exactly the right thing to do in life. Nobody said Mazel Tov, and so, but I kept asking that question about, okay, so now I've lived one life of not trusting myself. What would it be like to trust myself, to really start to trust it, even when you're scared, even when you're wobbling? I wanted to find out where this went, because the whole world will tell you, it's not safe, you're not that special, you're too old, you're too young, you're not educated, you're too educated, whatever. We hear all these rules. But the poet Rumi said, go live your own myth. Go live your own myth.
Oh,
And I
I
just
love that.
really wanted to know, in my lifetime, if I followed this inner voice, where would it take me? And oh, baby, it's taking me.
And you're just the best example, because like I said, so many people are like, do this, but it's like, are you living this? Have you had? And I mean, my God, woman, you leave a lot, that was just like, you took on the biggest job you could have, yes, I'm sure your mother was so proud.
Oh, yeah. They were praying I was going through a phase. That phase has lasted a long time.
That rebel brilliance that
Yes.
only lights you up, and you're
Yes.
trying to explain it to others, and they're like,
And you can't even explain it to yourself, because it wasn't like I knew my path. One of the things I teach my clients all the time is that you can't plan an
yes,
inspired life.
an inspired
You're
life.
not going to plan this. Your head, you're
Yes.
not going to figure it out, which our brains, I have a big brain, right? It was trying to figure it out, but it's not about figuring it out. It's about letting it out. And it's about being led by this greatness that is in you, and only in you, and only in you, because nobody knows what you're capable of. You don't even know. I'm living a life now, in a million years, this is not what I thought I would be doing. I mean, some of it, yes, but it's like, because it's a breadcrumb path where one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. I wanted to be a writer, right? I had no idea I was going to become a speaker. I was going to become a coach. Coaching didn't even exist. That I was going to stand on stages, in different organizations that I wouldn't have gone to, because I was like skeptical. It's like, you don't know where this is going to lead you. But I guess if it's for anybody who's listening, I want you following your rebel brilliance in your lifetime. Find out where it leads, because it's going to take you on a ride like nothing else. And as you know, Kristen, it just makes us grow.
Yeah.
We hit our challenges too. It's not all the, oh, I mean, for me, when you talk manifestation, real talk, for me, manifestation wasn't like, well, I said my affirmation and I blinked 3 times and I saw the feather fall, and then it all worked out. That's not been my path. I guess I've been on the slower ride with the truer one.
That's why it's manifestation real talk, because it
Real talk.
really is about what works for you. And I love that you said you can't plan an inspired life, because this is a kind of bit of a contradiction in terms there. Inspired
Yes.
is, yeah, it's that sudden. Okay, so I'll tell you a great story. I had woken up one morning and I suddenly remembered, oh my God, I've got to pay my friend $500. Where am I going to get $500? And I'm like, it's going to happen. And in that moment, I was inspired to get up, make my coffee. Well, I get in there and I don't have any coffee. So next inspiration was, oh, just go drive down the road. This is like, oh, dark 30. Go drive down the road to the gas station. You love their coffee anyway. Go do it. And the only thing that got me out when it's cold and it's dark and on the road and everything was, ooh, that coffee. Yeah. And that was that, it's like, there's no saying no to that. And I get on the road, and right in the middle of the road, and this is windy mountain road, in the middle of the road is this little pit bull just shivering. And my first thought was, ooh, pit bull. And I kind of rolled down my window and I'm like, hey, honey. And he just kind of looked at me, wasn't wagging the tail or anything, just looking at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out. And I get out, and it was so cute. It just walked around to my passenger side door. And I'm like, well, okay. Opened the door, jumped in, sat perfectly on the seat, just like a little gentleman, sat
Oh,
perfectly, looked forward like, okay, take me home.
and thanks for the coffee.
Yeah. And he's just shivering. And I turn on and I immediately inspired at, again, Odark 30 to put this up on our little local Facebook saying, hey, does anybody know who this dog is? And then, of course, what were the odds that this lady just happened to wake up? She can't sleep. She's just scrolling Facebook. There's my post. And she's like, oh, there's people, they've been looking for this dog. They lost her this weekend. And and I'm like, oh, well, where did they from? Oh, they're from Corona, far away. And I said, well, is there a number? And she goes, I think, hold on. And she finds his number, this random dog. I mean, the whole thing was so serendipitous. And sure enough, I call the owners and they're still up here hoping and praying. And it's been 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got your dog. Your dog's here. And they're like, oh my God, we're on our way. We're on our way. So it takes them like half an hour. They get to me. What do you think they hand me? $500 cash. $500 cash.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, no. We're dog people up here. We're good. And she's like, we're not talking about it. Take it. And I'm like, okay. And it's like you said,
yes,
in your, you can't for your book, about dads. You can't plan this.
No, you can't. And when you said it's like, oh, it's serendipitous, right? Like all these serendipitous things. And yet I feel like when we really look at our lives, it's almost like it was this choreography. It was this perfection. It seems, like to skeptics or to family, however you want to use that word, it can sound like you're out of your mind, right? Like really because a feather fell and because you went to get coffee and you found the dog and this is what you're going to base your life on, really? It seems so out of control. It can, right? To our logical linear minds, it can seem so out of control. And yet when you have those experiences, you just feel so like this is too perfect. Yeah. There's just something too perfect about it that makes you realize, oh my God, I'm not alone. Oh my God, there is this power. Oh my God, if I follow it, I will be led. And for me, that has actually made me feel safer in this lifetime than even a check coming in, because yes, I like the checks coming in, by the way, just for the record, universe,
just let you all know.
If anybody's listening, let's get that record straight. But for me, recognizing that power, that guidance, that strength, because like for me, I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but probably my greatest story, for me was getting my first book, This Time I Dance, Creating the Work You Love, published, because that was my dream. I'd left law. I didn't have a plan. I'm writing this book. By the way, it took me 12 years to write it. It wasn't like this, whatever. And I always tell people, by the way, if you're listening, I always tell people, actually, it took me 11 years to heal and to believe and to trust and to stop listening to that crazy, fearful, negative part of my brain, and 1 year to write a book. So if you're in this place where things are just taking so long, keep in mind, those of us who are maverick souls, those of us who are daring something different on this planet, we're doing things on different levels. We're multitasking. We're doing a lot of different things at once. So it's this transformation of your soul. And so anyways, but I kept believing in this book that nobody was paying me. I didn't have a contract, a publisher, anything, but I just kept having this inner voice that I really wanted to write this book, because I'd been in this career transition and I was totally scared out of my mind, and I was reading every self-help book on the planet. And they all made it sound so easy, like, just do these 3 steps and you'll be there. And I'd be like, oh my God, I am failing self-help. This is like bad. This is really bad. There's no place left in the bookstore now. And so, but I kept following this. And the short version of it is basically, I just got this guidance to put it in the river, just put it in the river. Because I kept saying, what, like, how do I get this published? What does this mean? What do I do? And I just kept hearing, put it in the river, put it in the river. And I knew intuitively that meant self-publish, even though that was not the answer I wanted, because it demanded more money and I don't know anything about marketing or distribution. But anyways, I finally decided to do it. And 4 months after I self-published, I got an email that came out of the blue, the true synchronicity story, from somebody who literally wrote, "Your fairy godmother has arrived." And if you get an email like your fairy godmother has arrived, you're going to think, oh, they want money from me. It's going to be, Russian girls are waiting for you, or there's money in Nairobi for you. Give us your credit card. But it was actually,
I actually got one of those this morning, but go
oh,
on.
yeah, exactly. I get them from the kings. All the kings want to know me. But it was actually an email from a vice president of marketing and publicity for Random House. And she had been in a career transition and somehow found my self-published book. She wrote to me, said, "This is the best book I've ever read on finding your calling, doing your dreams. I want to get it to a major New York house." She got it to the publisher I dreamed of. They bought it, they published it, they didn't edit it, they changed it like 10 sentences. It was amazing. They've bought every other book since. It's been amazing. So when you talk about that synchronicity, and I tell this story all the time. So if you've seen me speak, I tell the story as much as I can.
Awesome story.
As much as I can. It's my life story. And it reminds me constantly, because again, because what people forget when they hear that is they think, oh, I want the fairy godmother, right? But they forget that it took 12 years of me healing and working on myself. And I'm not saying it's going to take you 12 years. It could take you 12 minutes, but it is that faith. It is that conviction that you will not turn back on your inner voice, even when things get challenging, even when you're scared. You will still keep following it, because you can create things that could not be created any other way ever. And I needed that experience. I needed that journey so I could be this example, because I do have a very rational mind and I do have a very skeptical mind. And so I needed that personal experience to go through all those doubts, to be able to stand and invite so many other visionaries, creatives, entrepreneurs, mavericks, light leaders who are meant to save this world. We're the ones who are going to do it differently. We're going to go out for coffee at dark 30 and end up with $500 that we needed, right? Because there is a path for you. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so anybody who's listening, whatever the heck desire you have, whatever dream you have, it's real. It's real. It's real if you listen to it.
So important. You remind me of, I don't know if you know who David Goggins is.
I don't.
He is an ultra marathoner. He's definitely a rags to riches story. And, one of the things that he always says is when people are like, oh, well, you don't know my struggle. You don't know my life story. He's like, oh, yeah, I sure as hell do. I've lived it. I know it. And this is you, it's like every doubt, every excuse, every rationalization, all of it, it's like I've gone face to face with it and, taken it to bed as well. And
it wasn't fun. I didn't want a cigarette in the morning. I did not want a cigarette afterwards. Let's just put it that way.
That was put on your clothes and run. And you get, and I say this all the time, you always get to the other side.
Yeah.
You always get to the other side. And when you get to the other side, what's waiting for you? That dream is still there. It's not, you can't make it go away.
Exactly, which is how you know it. That's such a good point, Kristen, because that's how you know it's real. Because it won't leave you alone. Because you can't make yourself want something else. I tried making myself want more rational things, but you can't make yourself want it, because I always say in my books, only the real dream has the power. Only the real dream has the power to ignite you, to keep you up, to make you faithful when you're not, and to your point, Kristen, having read my books, I'm very honest about my struggles. I am not one of these self-help teachers that is like, well, and then it all worked out and I did my 7 steps. And if you follow me, I'll get you there in my 30-day course. Because I've read those books and they were frustrating, and I wanted it to be real, just like what your podcast is about, because I think when people are sharing what's real, that's what motivates people, of just, And so I've gotten emails from around the world like, oh my God, I thought I was crazy. I thought it was only me, and it's so beautiful, by the way, because those of us who do our dreams, not only do we get to live our dreams, but we ignite other people.
Yeah.
And then you get to meet these other people who you never would have met any other way. And they're part of your dream, right? Like it just connects us, because a lot of times you don't know anybody who thinks like you do, right? But if you do what you are meant to do, you are going to draw your people.
Yeah. Boom. Drop the mic on that one.
Yeah.
Well, and this is perfect what you just said, because I was just looking at one. Oh my God, I have so many of your quotes, but one of them here, one of the many.
I always love when people say, oh, I have your quotes all over. Yay.
Yay. And a lot of times when people say that to me, I'm always like, yeah, but try and remember that you manifested me, and whatever quote of mine you're putting up on the wall, that's actually yours.
Oh, you're so much nicer. I'm way more egotistical. Wasn't that quote wonderful? Didn't I craft that so beautifully? You're much nicer and kinder.
Not always. I very often I'm like, oh, don't bring that bullshit here. Come on, let's go bigger. Let's go.
Let's go bigger.
Bigger. You can go way, colossal. Let's use that word.
Yeah.
But one of the things you say is, I'm willing to go too far rather than not risk going far enough. And yeah, you talk about scary, the boldness that is demanded of you to step into that space.
Yes. But part of it is, it's funny because people tend to think that I'm a big risk taker and I'm some like bold person. I am so neurotic. I am Jewish, first of all. Let us keep this in mind. And I've been very fearful and timid in my life in many ways, and so but what has made me bold, what has made me take risks, is that if you do not take the risks that you need to take, it hurts. And when I was practicing law, I wouldn't have left law. I didn't want to leave law. I didn't want to leave law. It's just because it's like, oh my God, I'd achieved this thing. I'd worked so hard in Harvard Law School and whatever. And but I was getting increasingly depressed. And I was getting increasingly sad. And I was getting to the place where truly and honestly, I did not want to live anymore. I did not want to be here. It just didn't make sense to me. It's like, yeah, everybody was telling me, oh, but you're so successful. You have money or you have this. And it's like, I have misery. I have misery, I have emptiness, and that money is going to therapists and wine and whatever. It's like just to survive, and so I had to viscerally get to the place where I didn't want to be here anyway. So what did I have to lose? I remember I told a therapist at one point, it was really a funny session when I think back now. I told a therapist, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I just can't be here. And he kept trying to encourage me to like leave my job. And I'm like, oh no, I can't leave my job. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You don't do
Give
that.
Give me another
right?
option.
And so, right. And so he's like, so let me just get this straight. You are willing to leave the planet, but you are not willing to leave that job. And then it was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it?
Good point.
Good point. So anyway, so for any of you who feel like, well, I'm not a bold person, by the way, all of us need to be honoring our own rhythms and our own ways of being, right? And so, that this code is within you, this instruction is within you, this genius is within you, and it operates completely in a different way for you than it does for me. But one of the ways that what's right is, how does it feel? Does this make me feel alive? Does this make me feel deadened? Does this make me feel, like I'm colossal, expansive, like Vista came, baby, right? Like for me, creativity does that. When you tap what you're meant to do and it's like, whoa, bigger than life, right? But that's how And the courage is, I'm not going to listen to the instruction of the world. I'm not going to listen to the experts. I'm not going to listen to family members, maybe. I'm going to listen to this inner voice, and I'm going to find out for myself where this goes. And it's a ride.
Oh my God, it's a ride. It's so well said. I love what you said about, you wanted to leave this earth, because when you talked about how you needed 11 years of healing,
Mhm.
and even though that wasn't during the lawyer time, that was still there. You're still, fighting with that part of you
Yes,
that's like,
yes,
yeah, this works for those people, but it ain't not you. You're
right.
not
You're
special.
skinny and blonde. It's never going to work for you.
Never gonna work for you. It hasn't, you're 50 years old now, girl. It's not gonna work at this point. If it was gonna work, it would have worked
Right?
a long time ago. It's not working.
Don't give my inner critic new repertoire, please. Don't give it new ammunition. Like, hey, that's a good one. I'm going to try that one next time.
Ooh, there she goes. This is good. But when I first, I mean, God, manifestation, the letting amazing things just show up out of the blue and make you go, holy fuck. And I'm badass. I don't know how I did that. Damn it. I got to figure out how I did that and get better at it. All of that I think needs to heal too. you
Mm,
know is it, I mean, because they're,
mm.
they're the times where, I mean, I manifested this amazing house and this amazing job and the serendipitous situations and inspiration all over the place that was just blowing me away, minute by minute. I still was in the place of, there's just this constant seek for betterment. And
Oh God,
yeah,
yes.
and I think
Yes.
that's where that space of, I can't live here anymore, I can't do this, I'm done, let's go find the highest cliff. And yeah,
The colossal highest cliff.
the awful highest cliff. I want to make sure this works the first time.
Yeah, I'm going to
Not
get this right.
yeah, not bouncing and rolling and coming back and doing it again.
Oh God. The one thought, by the way, one of the thoughts that stops me all the time if I've ever been depressed and thinking of taking my, it's like, if reincarnation is real, you're gonna have to do junior high again. I said, oh fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'll stay.
The glasses, the braces, the hair pulled back really tight.
Yeah, yeah, the
It's
mean
just so
girls.
good.
Yeah,
The mean
yes,
girls.
yes. But I
Yeah.
love what you're saying, Kristen. And
Yeah.
one of the things I think that helps with the manifestation thing is because nowadays, and you may see this, nowadays, everybody's into manifesting as in controlling, right? I'm going to get this and I'm going to get that and whatever. And for me, this is still very much a spiritual path where you don't even know your own highest good. You don't even know what is ultimately the thing that is going to really open up yourselves and make you more alive than you ever dreamed. And so, I teach a course in miracles, which is a spiritual path, and it's not mine. It's been studied by millions. I've taught it for 3 decades now. It's the source of everything I do. I do online classes in it. And one of the things I follow with the Course in Miracles, is it talks a lot about like how a miracle isn't so much what you planned or what your idea was, right? But it's a deeper plan. And so sometimes when people think about, well, I tried that manifestation stuff and it didn't work for me, right? Sometimes we're asking for something too small. Sometimes we're asking for something that might actually even hurt us. Sometimes we're asking for what I'll call ego manifestation, right? Like my ego is hurting, I'm scared. And so I'm thinking, just send me the check or send me validation or make something happen. And really what needs to happen is I need to heal it from within. I need to face this and realize I'm going to stand in my light and my strength, even if I don't have the external circumstances. I am
Yes.
going to know my power and my strength before anything ever arrives. And then things can arrive. And my inner voice has said to me at different times, because with my books and with everything else, I was always like, oh, let them get out there, or, make me more famous. I want to be even more famous. And my inner voice has said at different times to me, I have no interest in making you get out there while you are not a beacon to humanity. While
Oh,
you are in your own smallness at this moment, I have no desire to help, to have you be a beacon to humanity. When you are knowing your strength and your light and you're owning it, fine, we'll talk. Right. And so
yeah.
that's been my journey all along, is that I have to do this work. I have to live this. And
Yeah.
by the way, that is something I'm very proud of all the people who take my classes and all the people who've read my books. They're real. and I'm real and I'm honest.
Yeah.
And for me, we teach through demonstration. We don't teach through words, and we don't teach through, just like passing on knowledge, right? But it's like, but we have to do this work. And by the way, the work, I don't know if it ends, but it's never ended for me. The
Yeah.
more I'm growing, I have to face the next thing and the next thing. Because I thought, oh, if I got a book published, I'd never ask for anything else. Well, that lasted until like 3 days afterwards.
Yeah. You always get to the other side.
Yes.
Even to
Yes.
those
And I
things.
like what you said. It's a path of betterment. It's a path of expansion. It's like
Yeah.
and I
Continuous.
think there's a difference between that genuine desire to expand who we are and express who we are, which is genuine and real, versus at times I've come from just trying to prove it because I'm scared and just trying to prove it to myself. And so it's
Yeah.
always that walk between the two.
I love that. And I loved also what I said about how even the manifestation, all that, you have to heal that aspect of yourself. I
Mm.
know when I said that, I was you made that face and I did too internally. I went, "Ooh, that was
What do you
good. I got
mean
to
by
write
that?
that
Say
down."
more. Say more. Yeah, say more about that.
You know, definitely. I because I've died 3 times.
Mm.
And I know what death is. And death is, yeah, this is huge. And in
Talk
fact,
about mic drop. I'm talking about, oh, my God, and you're just like in the middle of, oh yeah, I died 3 times.
I've died 3 times and I know what death is. And death isn't leaving this planet. You don't leave this, not, I don't want to say planet, existence.
Mm,
You don't stop existing. And
mm,
I ask my clients that a lot. I said, do you have any memory of not existing?
wow.
And it's like, and they'll at first they'll be like, well, yeah, reincarnation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This you right here, say your name. Do you have any memory of this version of you not existing?
Mm, mm,
Memory. And it's
mm,
like, no. And I'm like, okay, bingo. What if there's no such thing as you stop existing? Now
mm,
there's no rush to
mhm,
hurry up and get all this fantastic stuff
mm,
done.
mhm,
And yeah, when you were saying about how leaving this, I want to leave this planet, but not my job. um, you know, it's so funny. But that's exactly what it is. You do. You Neville Goddard talks about the old man as the old version of you. Is like dig a
mm,
hole, stick that sucker in there, cover it over with concrete, because that guy he'll climb
mm,
out. He'll
mhm,
climb on out and remind you that's the rationalization and
mm.
justification. And he's like, and then you let the new man arise. And the new version of you is those inspirations.
Yes.
It can only be found through inspiration. And
Mm.
when you're trying so hard to manifest and I'm making real
Yes.
through my
Yeah.
focus, and wait, there's step 1, there's step 2, and apparently there's a step 6 now too. And
And
that's,
6A, six
I
B,
know, I know.
subsection
And is
1.4.
there any part of you that's like, this is not fun? This is a
Yes.
chore. This is
Yes.
work. And
Yes.
yes, that's the parts that are like, I don't want to live that life anymore. I
Yes.
don't want to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't want
Yes.
to wait for my manifestations because I'm not doing this right. Yeah. Yes,
Mhm.
that's the part of you. So whenever I get people that are like, I don't want to live here anymore, I'm like, great. That's that old man. That's that part of you that's just ready to go. Let it
Mhm.
go.
Yes.
Because man, what's out,
And
it's just so wonderful to walk out the front door and be surprised by something amazing out there. That's a whole new world that you didn't expect.
and I
And
I
go ahead.
love that. And I think what you're talking about, what keeps coming to me is while you're talking is just, I think it's the difference between living in control, right? Just like control versus trust,
Oh,
right?
so
And
huge.
that's just such a difference. And I know that we all want control or think we want control of, but what we really do want is trust. And I don't mean airheaded trust, and I don't mean abdication. I don't mean, well, I don't really want to think about this, so I'll just give it to the universe. I won't really think about how to do anything. I'll just give it to the universe, right? Of but that trust that I'm not alone here, and
Mhm.
that my inspirations aren't me just being wacky or aren't some detour, but really are a whispering or a knowing, because I love what we were saying before about how it comes back. It keeps coming back. It's like there is a knowing in
Never goes
us.
away. Yeah.
Right. And again, it can be so challenging in the world we live in that's so media saturated, where you're being given messages constantly of you're not enough and you need X and you need Y. And even in the self-help community or the spiritual community, it's becoming a consumer
I think it's
culture.
worse.
I do too. I think
Yeah.
it's like, if you're not, well, you're not going to manifest with my 8-step process, or, just, and here I am on Fiji. Uh, I mean, just like all of these things where you just start thinking, I'm even doing this wrong or right. But again, for me, it is this sacred journey, and it is a spiritual journey, and it is real. And it is also about really healing. And by healing, I mean, it's going beyond that cruel voice in you that is not loving. And I
Yes.
think one of the greatest things I've learned on this path, that's a theme through all my books, and in my latest book, Thriving Through Uncertainty. I don't think you mentioned that one.
I didn't. I haven't tried, and I'm so excited to get that one.
Yeah. It's people love that one. But in Thriving Through Uncertainty, it talks a lot about what we're talking about here. And but the theme that's in all of my books really is, it's about really learning to love yourself more and really listen, like whatever this life is or isn't, it's very different when we go through it being loving of ourselves, because
We could do a
there's
whole
no
hour on this.
right, because there is no matter what is happening or not happening, if you become your own ally, no matter what, that's how things start to change. And one of the things I have started to learn and teach in A Course in Miracles, is that, when people say, but I can't hear that inner voice and I don't have access to that spirituality and I don't know why and whatever, there's a lot of reasons, and I could spend a whole hour on that. But the main thing I wanted to say is, you are not going to hear spirit's voice. You are not going to hear the voice of the universe while you are being cruel to yourself. You are being unkind. If you are not loving of you, I have to come down. I have to just say, hey, honey, it's okay. You're having a rotten day. You're disconnected, whatever. It's okay. You're fine. I love you no matter what. I'm here. I'm here to the beginning, the end, the middle, and everything in between, baby.
Yes.
When I can genuinely have that presence for myself, that's when I can hear something else. Because I think that frequency only speaks on that voice of love. But it's like most of us are listening to a very critical voice, and we are thinking it's reality. We are thinking it's just good judgment. We're being realistic. And it's not good judgment. It's just crappy conditioning.
I always tell people, when you're so outrageously in love with yourself and the amazing inspiration that comes through your mind and all that, then you don't need these self-help. You don't need law of attraction, law of assumption. You don't need this man. You don't need all these things and the best thing we could ever teach our children is to love themselves. So they don't need to find whatever it is they're finding to fill that gap. And it's just like, I take my little grandson and I stand him up in front of the mirror, and we sit there and we do our, I love me, I'm so awesome, I'm so strong. And and it's not, I'm not saying you to him. I'm not going to say you're handsome. I'm like, you can say it to that guy in that mirror. And man, when we learn to love ourselves, all of a sudden we really realize the operant power we are. And, everything, there's so much stuff that comes in and goes out and comes in and goes out and comes in and goes out. There's one thing that never does.
Yes. 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 And you know what? And people, and because I know myself, I would have heard something like this and like rolled my eyes, because that's how open-minded I was to spirituality. And I would have thought, oh, self-love, like, oh, get rain-scented candles, I mean, just like, I would have thought it was weakness. But one of the things I want people to know is that for me, that self-love or that ally within and that trust has empowered me to do things that have scared me, to do the hard, I talk about 11 years or whatever. They were hard. They were scary. I left this career without a plan. Everybody's going, so what are you doing? Did you get a job? Blah, blah, blah. And you're having to answer to them like, no, I'm following some inner voice. I got a job waiting tables because I thought it would be fun, which so didn't go over well with everyone I knew. But just the courage to live your own life, to be free, and also to face difficult things, to get rejected 100 million times, and to say, I will not reject myself. I will not reject myself. I will keep going. I will find another way. I will consult this inner voice, because my inner voices sometimes said, well, yeah, we need to shift this, or you're going after the wrong thing, or you're trying to force something, right? But again, self-love makes you powerful, and your dreams make you powerful. You know, one of the things that I know for me makes me more powerful than anything else is doing something I love. Is doing what I love. If you do what you love, anything you love, I don't care what it is, it changes your brain chemistry, it changes your energy, it changes how you see the world. You know, I was writing this past weekend, and it's like, you know, I haven't been writing as much because I'm in my business and I'm doing, you know, all this other stuff. And I'm writing a new book, and I was really, really writing. And then it was like, you tap this energy. It's like, oh, oh my God, I forgot things. Where when you do something you love, it completes you in the moment. Yes, I want to be published. Yes, I want people reading it. Yes, I hope great things. But really, in that moment of doing it, it changes how I perceive myself. So if you are listening to this and you have had a desire to sing or write or start a business or travel the world or find the love of your life, it's going to change you in all the right ways, because it's going to be, that's where you belong. And you don't belong in a life where your dreams are not. You belong in a life where your dreams are.
Yes. Another drop the mic.
Yeah.
Well, you say you don't choose your wildest dreams. They
Mhm.
choose you. And it really, it's like, it just, like we said in the beginning, won't go away. Yeah, I'm going to wait tables. Yeah, I'm going to work at Bonds. Yeah, I'm going to do all those. But some of my most brilliant experiences of this dream of who I am was while I was sitting there,
Yeah.
taking people's,
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
yeah. I mean,
I would never have had the guts to become a coach or to be a public speaker had I not waited tables. And this was not conscious. It wasn't like I said that, but I didn't know I could speak
yeah,
to people. I'm a writer, right? I didn't know that I didn't know I was funny, because I was a horrible waitress. It was terrible, but I would make people laugh. I was like, oh, you really wanted that food? Why didn't you say so? But like, so again, everything is purpose. Everything has sequence if you're
yes.
following that energy.
Oh, so much. And 2020 when it hit,
Mm.
everything, my business of what I knew, which was fitness and yoga, and it was shut down. And it
Mhm.
was the best thing to ever happen to me, because I owned my own business of fitness in my other life. And it suddenly, it was the most it was doing great. It was, money was rolling in. And then all of a sudden I hit crickets,
Mm.
and I'm like, what's going on? And then it was like all these doors just start shutting around me. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh, what am I vibrating wrong? What am I doing wrong? You know? And it's like, can you
Mm.
trust? Can you trust that the
Mm.
only door that's open is the one that's going to lead you to
Yes.
exactly you? And I love that you say you're not alone,
Yes.
because the very first stand up, like a TED talk that I've ever done, and was the best and was the one that lit this fire, was titled "You Are Not Alone."
Oh,
So you said that, and I went,
wow.
of course. But
Wink, wink.
yeah, I know. And I love that it all had to shut down. And COVID comes around, my business shut down. All of a sudden I'm like, what am I going to do? And I've got this inspiration: get in your car and go travel around. You've always wanted to do nomad. And I'm like, I've got
Mm.
$1,000 to my name. How am I going to afford
Mm.
this? I can't do this. And it's like, and then all of a sudden everything started shutting all around me again. And the
Wow.
only thing open was go get in your car and go.
Maybe you'll
And
find a dog. No.
I had a dog, and she was the only thing that gave me the boldness to do this. Got
Yes.
rid of 98% of my belongings,
Wow.
just loaded me and my dog. And the coolest thing was all the national parks in the Western US,
Mhm,
because it was COVID,
mhm.
were quiet. They were
Yeah.
open,
Oh,
but they were
gorgeous.
quiet. And so I got to
Wow.
go through them all and see them
Wow.
all and see things I didn't even know existed, like Devil's Tower. I was like,
Wow.
that's really a thing.
Wow.
Wow. And had the most amazing experiences. And it was scary as hell. Pretty
Mhm,
much the whole time. Because every time I swiped that credit card for gas or whatever, I was like, no money coming in and only money going out. And I had to have spent $1,000 by now. And
mhm,
yet it kept
mhm,
working. It kept working.
mhm.
And I didn't realize until I was reading one of your books, I didn't realize how healing
Yes.
that time was. And it was the scariest healing of
Yes.
all. And when I got back here, and it was so funny because, this is a huge story and I'm doing a tiny spot part of it. But when I got back here, I realized how much I loved it up here. Whereas before I left, I was like, this is
Mm.
beautiful. This is gorgeous, but this isn't my dream. This isn't my dream. This isn't my dream. Where's my dream? Where's my dream? I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. And when I got back, I was
Yes.
like, oh, I'm good.
Wow.
I don't need to go anywhere.
Wow.
This is my dream. I could see my dream
Mm.
shining through it.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it was
Beautiful.
just yeah. So
Beautiful.
when you said in your book, The Unstoppable Book, that it was 11 years of healing, I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's right there.
And I love that example about how, when things shut down for us, when all the doors are closing, which can be that's what thriving through uncertainty is all about, that, right? And so and it's, like, that's when it can be terrifying, but I think that's when destiny begins. When
Yeah.
your plans fail, that's when your creative destiny begins, right? Because that's when you start to listen to that extraordinary inner voice, because what else have you got,
Yeah.
right? But it's such a beautiful example about how it takes you into a place that's so much better. It's not here to hurt us. And for most of us, the most dangerous thing we can do is when change starts happening like that, or things shut down, or someone breaks up with us, or we lose a job, or God forbid somebody dies, or all kinds of things happen. We can shut our hearts, we can close our hearts. We can get disappointed and say, I'm done. Forget
Yes.
it. This stupid life, I'm done. Right. But the work is, how do I keep my heart open? Right. And not give up on myself or my life, because there will be a path. There is always a path. There is always your path. And it's always better,
Yes.
expansive. Right.
Yes.
It's such a
Your path. I love
your
that.
path.
Yeah.
Nobody else's,
Bold,
your path.
italicized, underline that your.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why we're all running around listening to everybody else, and it doesn't feel right. And I know for myself, in doing my business, you start thinking, oh, well, this is business. I got to do this differently because this is business. Right. And then, I'd read all these things of, slimy marketing and blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to do that. And for me, it's been the same thing of, like, not only the dream, but now the business of the dream has also become a spiritual path of following that inner voice and saying, okay, if this is real, then you do this, right? And so for each of us, it's going to be that courage to keep following and keeping your heart open and keep trusting. And keep
Oh,
listening to people who inspire you. If there are people who inspire you, I mean, that's why I've created a global family of those of us who are listening to inspiration instead of fear, right? And so I'm on all kinds of social media, so join me there. But also on my website, make sure you get the fortune cookies. They're digital fortune cookies of guidance. Do you get those, guys?
yeah, well, we were gonna bring this
Yeah,
up. We need to
yeah,
let people know, it's like Tama has all sorts of free content and free guidance, and there's videos, and you can sign up for your online magazine, and
yes, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
and you
there's
get and
so
you get it
much.
all, tamakieves.com/the word free dash stuff. right?
Yes.
TamaKieves.com/free-stuff. All of it's there. Jump in.
Jump
Join
in.
us.
Cannonball, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys, I will have all the links down below if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on any of the Audibles, just go ahead and or the online podcasts that you just listen to. You just go to my YouTube and you'll find all the links, or just put in Tama Kieves. It comes up. She's all over Google. Yes.
God knows what you'll find.
I know, you never know. Great videos. She's got a fantastic TED Talk that was lots of fun. It really is a comedy routine. It is so funny. It's so great. And you do the Jewish accent. The
If you
mother-in-law.
knew you lived with it, you're gonna hear it. It's in your blood. What are you gonna do?
I'm like, people really talk like that.
They really do.
You do it so well. And what I was telling Tama before we started this, what I love more than anything, and I said this in the beginning, is that she has lived it. She still is. She's still living the doubt and the you call them dark nights of the soul, whatever you want to call it. She's, we're all still there. We're all still playing that, but we proceed on. We listen to that inspiration.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it is so important for people to know that it's not you. You're not doing it wrong. Like you were saying, am I vibrating wrong? Am I reading whatever? It's like, it's not you. This is the path. And that's why I do think it's really, really helpful, if you can, to find support, like listen to podcasts like Kristen, just listen, get absorb it, of join me I'm doing Summer of Miracles soon, a new Course in Miracles class. But if you're watching this 10 years from now, there'll probably be another Course in Miracles class I'm doing. Jump in with us. It's amazing. The community is amazing. You can ask me anything, and so again, but it's like, find your teachers, find your friends, find your guides. I found a lot of my gurus in books, of just, but surround yourself with the inspiration, the people who are going to remind you who you really are, because other people sometimes can't. They're not bad, they're not wrong, but they're not on the same journey. They're not on the same trajectory. So you need somebody who's going to say, when you lost your job, you need somebody who's going to say, right on, girl. Right on, guy. Amen. I can't wait to see what's next for you, instead of, oh my God, what are you going to do? Right?
Yes, please. Like you said earlier, don't give that version of me any fodder.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. And it really, we're going to end with that. But the best takeaway for everybody here is there are, we are all out there, the visionaries, the ones that are going to turbo boost your dreams, not tear them down, not.
Yes.
We're going to see that version of you even before you do.
Amen.
And we're going to be your biggest cheerleaders.
Relentless. Relentless.
Relentless. We're going to call you up. You still following that dream? Come on. What are you doing?
And it's relentless gentleness. It's not even kick in the butt kind of thing. That's not my style anyway. But that's her style. Okay, fine.
I'm the butt kicker.
You want the butt kicker, go with her.
Over here.
But my thing is rocking your brilliance.
Yeah.
And that brilliance comes from that safety and that love. And it's relentless. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you to everybody. Please let us know, what you got out of this today in the comments below, and reach out to Tama. She is just such an amazing lady. I can't say enough about her, about how awesome reading her books are, again, coming from somebody who's read every freaking self-help book out there, hers were, where's this been my whole life?
Oh,
it's like, wait, she published this 2012. Where was I? How come I didn't know about this until now? Yeah, no, it's just always comes into your life at the right time. And yeah. Thank you so much, my dear.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. All those lights out there. Bless you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.